Welcome into Minnesota Vikings Now. I am Tom Downey. It's a big game this week. The Vikings against the Dallas Cowboys. It's not prime time, despite what Vikings fan producer Patrick might try to claim. But if you want the Vikings to beat the Cowboys, then subscribe. Subbing for Dubs has worked quite well so far this year for Minnesota. And if not for me or for the Vikings, do it for producer Patrick, our resident Vikings diehard fan here at Chat Sports. He needs a win in his life. Probably more so personally, but we'll give him a professional win if we can. Hit that subscribe button right now. Time for our weekly preview. This time it's against the Dallas Cowboys. Good news, Vikings fans. Cooper Rush is not going to play, so the boogeyman of I'm still confused how they won that football game last time around. He will not be out there, but we will begin with some fairly significant injury news and notes, beginning with Christian Darrisaw. Did not participate on Wednesday at Wednesday's practice with a concussion. Neither did Akayleb Evans. We will see if those two players can clear the concussion protocol in time, and we'll go more in depth on Darrisaw here in a little bit. Dalvin Tomllinson, again, did not participate. If he can't get at least a limited in by Thursday or Friday, I don't think he's going to be able to go, which could be a red flag since the Cowboys can run the football a little bit better than what they were last year. Za'Darius Smith limited with a knee. That's probably not the end of the world. If you're limited on Wednesday, normally means you're able to go. Now, Justin Jefferson did pop up on the injury report with a toe injury. I wouldn't read too much in that. Again, limited on Wednesday normally means you're able to play, unless the team is being ultra cautious with you. I think you'll see Jefferson and Smith out there. Tomllinson, I'm not feeling great about. Christian Darrisaw, we just have to wait and see. It's the concussion protocol. You have to clear it properly. We just don't know how that process will go. Every now and then a player has a setback. I mean, we saw with Matthew Stafford was not on the injury report, and then Wednesday got a concussion. It just happens sometimes. It's unfortunate, but it is how it goes. If Darrisaw cannot go, Blake Brandell would be the next man up at left tackle. He subbed in when Darrisaw went down. Played decently. Good news is the Vikings are actually fairly deep along the offensive line, especially compared to most teams in the NFL. Let's look at the Cowboys injury report now. DeMarcus Lawrence did not participate due to a foot injury. That seems to be much more precautionary per head coach Mike McCarthy at his own press conference today. You guys know Mike pretty well, right? Tank Lawrence should be out there. That's a big deal for the Cowboys. He is their only truly reliable run defender along that defensive line. Anthony Barr, hamstring, did get in a little bit of work. That bodes very well for Barr making his return. Anthony Brown, concussion, was limited. It was a walkthrough practice, so the limited for the Cowboys concussion and the DNP for the Vikings is different. It was a walkthrough practice for Dallas. Didn't actually do that much, so can't read too much into that one. Ezekiel Elliott, who has not played the past two games, in theory back this week, but we'll see. Michael Gallup and Tyler Smith both battling minor knee injuries. They were full participants, so those two offensive starters should be good to go for the 6 starters on the Cowboys injury report this week. All right, folks, pick the game for me of the Cowboys versus Vikings matchup. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. It's the pinned comment. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Let's hit some key matchups then. Number 1, Micah Parsons against the Vikings offensive line, the early Defensive Player of the Year favorite, which I think that's starting to drop a little bit there, has been a nightmare for opposing teams to try to stop. 8 sacks this year, 40 pressures, 24 tackles, and 2 forced fumbles. Now, the Parsons coming off, I think, his worst game of the year against the Packers. That was due in large part because the Cowboys played him at off-ball linebacker pretty frequently, which, not the route I would go when you have a premier pass rusher. It's not like you're trying to play Za'Darius Smith or Danielle Hunter at off-ball linebacker. Yeah, they could do it, but it's not their best value. If Christian Darrisaw can go, that is a big deal for the Cowboys. They've moved Micah Parsons around to get him matched up against the worst of the opposing team's offensive tackles. Probably is Brian O'Neill, and that's a good matchup still because he's awesome. But if Darrisaw can't go, Blake Brandell, he's going to get Micah Parsons. That is a welcome to the NFL moment, and that's been the case for many players this year against Micah Parsons. If the Vikings are forced to pass, the Cowboys' pass rush has been dynamic and deadly all year. They'll probably run the ball a lot, which we'll get into in a little bit. But first, today's edition of Minnesota Vikings Now is sponsored by Established Titles. Established Titles is a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping global reforestation efforts. It's a project based on a historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lairds or lords and ladies in English. Title packs give you at least a square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, and an official certificate with a crest. They plant a tree with every order and work with global charities, One Tree Planted, and Trees for the Future support global reforestation efforts. You could officially include the title Lord or Lady on your credit card, plane ticket, dating profile, etc. Makes a great last-minute gift. The first 200 people who purchase a title pack using my link will effectively be next to my plot within a few minutes of walking distance. So depending on how many of you want to become a lord or a lady, we can build our own little Minnesota Vikings Now kingdom in Scotland. Makes an amazing last-minute gift. And Established Titles is actually running a massive early Black Friday sale right now with discounts up to 80% off. Plus, if you use promo code CHAT, that's C-H-A-T, you'll actually save an additional 10% off. Go to establishedtitles.com/chat to get your gifts now and help support the channel. That link and promo code are in the description and in the comment section. Key matchup number 2, the Vikings rushing offense against the Cowboys defense. The Vikings, as producer Patrick tells me almost every single week, have not run the football as effectively as you might expect a team of their caliber to be able to do so. But the Cowboys' run defense has not been very good, and especially the last couple of weeks, things have started to go a little bit in the wrong direction from that standpoint. So we can bring on producer Patrick here as well. That's producer Patrick Seaman. What's up, Patrick?
This is actually the key that I am most excited about. Tom and I were talking about it before. The Cowboys' defense, I feel like, is susceptible to being able to get ran on. But if you let this pass rush kind of tee up and just go straight ahead against the Vikings tackles, that's where the Vikings could fall into problems. And also, Vikings rushing numbers, they look pretty solid. Dalvin Cook averaging over 5 yards per carry. Got to remember, he had that 81-yard rush against Buffalo. That's 72-yard rush against Miami. I feel like the averages are a little skewed because I feel like the Vikings haven't been really able to sustain drives.
They've been about average this year in terms of EPA, if you want to use that standpoint. Right almost on the line in terms of that standpoint. The one thing you can have success with, by the way, in terms of running the football on the Cowboys, it's not up the middle. It's outside. Getting those outside zone plays, the stretch plays, the toss plays, the student body left plays in particular, away from DeMarcus Lawrence, tends to line up on the right side of the offense. The defense is left, of course. Outside to the left, away from Tank Lawrence, towards guys like Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong, and, yes, cornerback Trayvon Diggs, too. That's where teams have had their most success. Do what the Packers did. Get the ball to the outside, good things tend to happen. So over or under 150 rushing yards for the Vikings this Sunday. O for over, U for under. Let me know what you're predicting in the comments section. Key matchup number 3, the Cowboys defensive backs against the Minnesota Vikings wide receivers. In particular, Justin Jefferson. I think it's just safe to say, look, Justin Jefferson's going to get his. That's going to be how it goes. Although he didn't have a great game the last time he played the Cowboys, I would expect that changes. TJ Hawkinson, by the way, has been the one tight end who's had success so far this year against the Cowboys. Remember, he played for the Lions when they played the Cowboys this year, so his second matchup of the season. What makes things dicey for Dallas is Jordan Lewis is banged up. He's probably out for the year. Deron Bland is a 6th-round rookie out of Fresno State who is playing nickel corner. Anthony Brown's in concussion protocol. The backup would be Kelvin Joseph, who makes a fairly critical mistake every time he's out there on defense. So we'll see how that ends up going. The Cowboys have not shadowed Trayvon Diggs that much with opposing receivers, and the Vikings like to put Justin Jefferson, as smart teams do, in the slot. I think it's a good idea to put your best receiver in the slot. You tend to get better matchups there. Would they shadow Diggs when they play man-to-man? Maybe. When they're in zone, though, I think and they do still run plenty of zone, I think you'll see Deron Bland as the matchup there. I'm curious how the Cowboys try to stop Justin Jefferson. It's a little bit tricky mid-season when you're trying to fix your run defense and game plan for the league's most dynamic wide receiver. That's not an easy matchup for Minnesota. I think you've seen Kirk Cousins take more effort, Justin Jefferson down there somewhere shots, and that's a good play call, as we saw on 4th and a country mile against the Buffalo Bills. So I'm very curious how the Cowboys will try to stop Justin Jefferson. Could lead to bigger games for Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, and maybe TJ Hawkinson. Safety help is probably what you'll see for the most part on Justin Jefferson. Key matchup number 4, Dak Prescott against Kirk Cousins, who unfortunately for the Vikings has not played very well historically against the Dallas Cowboys. I know quarterback wins is not a stat, but he is 2-8 all time against the Dallas Cowboys. Most of that coming, of course, back when he was with Washington. Cousins is completing 64.1% of his passes, 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Not bad. I think the offense has yet to put together a complete game, which it's okay when you're as good record-wise as the Vikings are. Now, Dak's numbers don't look great. At least one of those interceptions, not his fault. We'd probably assign 2 of them, frankly, to CeeDee Lamb because you might see it again in the game. The Cowboys, when it's 3rd and long, their go-to play, CeeDee Lamb in the slot, and I think it's really maybe more of an option route where if it's 2 safeties, he's running the post to go up the middle. If it's 1 safety, middle of the field closed, it is going to be a dig. And the dig is open, and Lamb just doesn't run the dig. He just kind of gives up on it, and it leads to interceptions, and there are also some heat check throws in there, mostly on 3rd down when Dak's trying to make a play. Who do you think, be honest with me, is the better QB? 8 for Kirk Cousins, 4 for Dak Prescott? Let me know in the comment section. Key matchup number 5, the Cowboys rushing offense against the Vikings run D. In theory, Ezekiel Elliott shall return this week for the Cowboys as he's battling I think it's more of a hyperextended knee. There was a claim it was an MCL tear, but that kind of got disputed by people I think are more credible there. The Cowboys run offense has been pretty solid so far this year. Not always perfect, but it has been better, for example, than what the Vikings has been on that side of the football. But Minnesota does have a pretty damned good run defense this year. They're in top 5 if you go by EPA, expected points added. It's a lot better than what the Cowboys have been, which is below league average. The Cowboys should try to run the football at least a little bit, but Kellen Moore, their play caller, likes to throw it. So it should be a fantastic game this weekend, and I am very excited to see how it all plays out. Remember, folks, subscribe if you haven't already.